And my guess would be that probably has not happened anywhere else, particularly with budget cutbacks and that sort of thing. So I think that we recommend that somebody have that responsibility as their job, and it's supervised, and that person would be sending the data to Raleigh after it's approved internally.
And are you to say, at least that's what I'm thinking, that that is probably one of the most important parts of the data portion and it being put in correctly, and that because we've been getting a whole lot of stuff, it's just been crazy with this data.
Yeah, I don't think that I really don't think any of our evidence indicates that at the officer level there's any manipulation of anything.
Right.
I think the officers are doing their thing. I think when it gets out of their hands, it's where it gets skewed and gets out of control, possibly because there's not enough direct attention to getting that entered correctly.
Let me ask this other question, if I could, please. On the, I don't know if it's the TSR or, and correct me, the form where they did some modifications to include the location
Yes, sir.
of the stop, and you said that, I guess you were meaning that the spacing area for that data to be recorded was not enough of room?
No, sir.
Okay, what did you mean?
No, it was. Let's describe current practice. I think is the easiest thing. They have expanded their rules about what has to be reported outside of the TSR. They've got the TSR, which does not include location. That's been said over and over and over again for months. Their records management system, the internal records management system, now requires entries made about the location and reasons for the stop and reasons for the search in its simplest fashion.
Okay. Also, let me add that on the TSR, there is a data field for location, but the state law only allows the city of Fayetteville to be entered, not a street address.
And that just tracks who it gets assigned to in the big database.
Now, and another new part of the modification, if I'm understanding correctly, that is taking place, well, soon, if not now, that anyone, if they have been, anyone that has a question about a particular stop, I guess they would need to have that ticket number or something that they could go over to our police station, and there would be a record there of that stop and the TRS information. So what would they need if they went over there?
Well, that information will be entered into their records management system.
And when does that begin, or has it begun?
Okay, as soon as the ticket is issued, the tickets are issued, and the field contact is prepared. Then it's turned into the supervisor, and that entry process takes place at that point. Now, it goes into the records management system, and there are many ways that it can be queried. And if their system is like most systems in law enforcement, and I believe it is.
I'll say that again, please.
If their system is like most RMS systems in law enforcement, and I believe it is, and I think they have OSSI, you can query the system by putting in a number of things. You can put in the street location, and that will come up.
Name.
Yeah, put in the name, that can come up.
So, and thank you. But my question was, is that taking place now?
Yes, sir, it
Okay.
is.
As of January 1st.
January 1st. Okay, thank you, Mayor.
I'm sorry, anybody have any other questions? I'm sorry, Mr. Bates, go ahead, sir.
Thank you for the report. I just want to make sure that we all understand that we do know there is you said a large disproportionate number of African American traffic stops than there are other races, correct?
That's correct.
And then at the same time, you're saying that the police are not racially profiling.
No, we're not saying that. We are simply saying that our study and the data indicates that there's a disparate number of African Americans being stopped for traffic violations and for consent searches. Okay, that in itself does not mean racial profiling.
Thank you.
Mr. Harper?
I just want to thank you, gentlemen, for your report tonight. I just want to make sure I'm collect some key takeaways that I got out of your report. Is one, data collection is an issue. We know that, and we need to work on that. And then once we've collected the data based on one of your 24 recommendations, we need to have a systematic way of entering that. And your recommendation was a full-time employee to do that.
Yes.
And then you identified communication as an issue that we need to work on based on the findings that you have. And those are three areas that I just highlight, but three other positive areas that I saw in this was the accreditation and the PERF and the standards, the national standards the police department is seeking to apply to their actions. Those were all very positive things that you found in your investigation. Is that correct?
Well, it was actually found in the PERF study and the CALEA study. We just verified that through their study.
Okay. And then the implementation of a consent form, that's certainly a positive piece that you highlighted. And then finally, I think the biggest takeaway on positive things is the installation of the cameras on the patrol cars. And you think that is a very, very good action on the department's behalf.
Absolutely. There are two big positive things there, and that is the in-car cameras increase accountability. You know, it shows what a police officer is doing. If someone accuses a police officer of whatever, the camera shows whatever happened. And there's also an audio mic on the police officer, so that voice is captured in a recording. So if a police officer cannot say that he did one thing when in fact he did another, because there's accountability. A citizen can accuse a police officer of some kind of wrongdoing, but if that did not occur, once again, that's recorded. And in addition to that, and some would say first and foremost, it's also a safety issue for police officers.
Thank you.
Mr. Fowler?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to make sure that I heard correctly, because as I was listening to the presentation, it appears that the police department has already made several strong steps towards addressing the issue. Is that what, did I hear that correctly from you?
That's correct. Even before we got started in the study, the police department worked on some very positive steps. After we had a dialogue with the police department, they implemented more positive steps. And from all indication, they continue to be looking for positive steps and are willing to continue with making positive steps.
So it sounds then still that the major issue is communication then. Is that correct?
That's a big problem. Communications is a problem. There's a misunderstanding between the police and the community. And I'll have to reiterate, the numbers are what they are, and they need to be dealt with.
Thank you.
Is that it, sir? Yes, Chris?
Ma'am.
Commander Kennedy, Chief Wilson,
We'll get to that just
one of your recommendations was for a signed consent form. Having learned that that's already in force now, did you have occasion today to examine that consent form that's being used?
Yes, sir, I have a copy.
And you like what you see, or?
I do, and I made the comment earlier that they took two forms and made them into one. And it's very, very easy to use for the officer. It provides a lot of information, race and sex of the driver, for example, that's very useful upon supervisory review.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Mr. Massey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Based upon what I've heard thus far, I just want to be sure that I understand what I think I've heard. Was that, let's see, who was given the bulk of that report? Mr. Wilson?
Yes, he gave the bulk of it, Mr. Massey. Mr. Wilson did.
Did Mr. Wilson indicate that he said that racial profiling may or may not exist based on the data that he had at his disposal?
No, sir, I did not say that. We had Dr. Quimby do a qualitative analysis, and a part of that qualitative analysis, that was the comment that he made, and it was not necessarily based on the data. It was based upon the information received during the interviews and the information provided to him about the statistical data.
But you did say that it may or may not exist, is that correct?
That's what the report from Dr. Quimby indicates.
Okay, the other question would be, particularly as it would relate to information being sent to Raleigh. Should someone in the chain of command be accountable who is a sworn law enforcement officer before that data leaves FPD and goes to Raleigh?
Yes, sir, that was very, very much a part of our recommendation, that you've got a data entry person that's supervised by a mid-management police employee wearing a uniform.
Okay. First of all, I do want to thank you all. The report, based upon the information which you have, appears to be as thorough as it can be from this vantage point. But the only thing that does concern me is that you feel as though that with us being approved by CALEA, that we're on the right path toward trying to be able to answer the question whether or not we do or do not have racial profiling.
Well, no, sir. And let me just explain that. The CALEA process involves a comparison of the policies and procedures of the Fayetteville Police Department with national standards. And when that comparison was done, the report indicates that the Fayetteville Police Department policies are in compliance with national standards. And their report did not deal specifically with racial profiling. They mentioned it, but they didn't get into the nuts and bolts of it and give an explanation of it.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you for the work and the report that you have delivered to us at this point in time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Massey. Any other questions? I get everybody here? Okay. I guess we'd like to entertain a motion to accept the report. Is that desire of council? Someone would make that motion?
I move.
Thank you, Mr. Chris. There's a second.
I second it.
Thank you, sir. Any discussion on the motion? May I ask for your vote, please? Mr. Massey? Here.
Yes.
Thank you, Katie. Mr. Hare? Okay, that's it. Thank you so much for your report tonight, sir, and thanks for being here for our questions. And were we to have some additional questions after we review the 110 pages, can we contact you, sir?
Absolutely. You have our contact numbers. Please feel free to call us.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you being here. Motion to adjourn?